Hi, boys and girls. We are going to jump into our reading today. Today is Thursday, and I'd like you to begin by getting your reading packets out and turning to page number. Let me find it here. Page number. Almost there. All right, page number 49. Page number 49. Today's story is called Stone Soup. This is a fiction story, which means that it's not real. It's a fake story. But this is also a folk tale. Folk tales are stories that have been passed down for hundreds of years. People tell them to their kids, and then their kids grow up, and then the kids tell them to their kids. And it's a story that's passed down over and over and over again from person to person to person over many, many years. So we're going to start by reading Stone Soup. Our objective for our reading today is that we will read the text carefully and answer the questions. We're going to go back into the text so that we can best answer the questions. Let's dive in. A long time ago, a tired traveler walked into a small village. He was hungry and stopped at the first house he saw to ask for some food. He knocked, and a young woman holding a baby opened the door. "Do you have a bit of food for a tired traveler?" the man asked. "I have been walking all day without a bite to eat." "I'm sorry, but I have barely enough food for my family," the woman said. When the other people in the village heard the man, they started shutting their doors. "Go away! We only have enough food for ourselves," they shouted from behind their locked doors. The traveler sat down in the town square, which is the middle of the city, and thought for a while. Then he had a wonderful idea. "I only ask for a pot and some water," he shouted. He took 3 gray rocks out of his pocket. "With these special stones, I will make a delicious stone soup." "Who has ever heard of stone soup?" the villagers laughed. But some of the people were curious, which means you want to know more about it. They brought the traveler a pot filled with water. The traveler started a fire under the large pot of water. When it began to boil, he slowly added the 3 stones. After a while, he put his nose over the pot and breathed in. "Ah," he said with a twinkle in his eye, "this is almost perfect. If only we had some onions." A villager quickly grabbed a bag of onions and passed it to the traveler, who added them to the pot. "Oh," sighed the traveler, breathing in again with his nose over the pot. This is almost perfect. If only we had some potatoes." The villagers ran to their homes. They came back carrying not only potatoes, but carrots and peas and beans and corn. Everyone wanted to help. Very soon there was enough delicious soup for everyone in the village. They all ate soup until they were no longer hungry. Even today, people tell the story of how such a wonderful soup could be made from stones. All right, let's go down to page 51 and answer question number 1. What challenge or problem does the traveler face when he first comes to town? So what's his challenge or problem? A, he is tired and needs a place to spend the night. Do not remember reading anything about that. B, he knocks on a door and a young woman holding a baby answers. I don't see how a young woman holding a baby when she answers the door would be the problem of this story. C, he is hungry and hopes someone will give him food. Let me go back to the text. He asks, "Do you have a bit of food for a tired traveler? I have been walking all day without a bite of food to eat." He hasn't eaten all day and he's been walking. So I'm assuming that he is hungry and hopes someone will give him food. That's why he asks the woman with the baby. Just to make sure we've made the right choice, let's read part D. He wants to fix a dinner but doesn't have a pot. I don't think that was his original problem, so I think we made the right choice choosing C. All right, let's underline a sentence from paragraph 1 that best tells about the answer. So we said that he's hungry. He hopes someone will give him food. What they want us to do is to underline the sentence that tells about him being hungry and wanting to get some food. Let's see if we can find it. A long time ago, a tired traveler walked into a small village. He was hungry. Well, there we go. There's part of it. He was hungry and stopped at the first house he saw to ask for some food. Remember, our answer was that he was hungry and he hoped somebody will give him some food. We found the answer right in the text. It says right here, he was hungry. He stops at the first house he saw to ask for some food. What is the challenge that the traveler faces when no one will help him? Remember how he asked the woman with the baby and then everyone shuts the door. What is the challenge he faces when no one will help him? A, he has to find wood so he can build a fire to keep warm. Don't remember hearing anything about him being cold or about him needing to build a fire because he's cold. So I would say A is not a great option. Let's try B. B, he needs to learn how to make friends with everyone in town first. Do you think that that's the problem that he faces when no one will help him? I think there might be a better answer. Let's keep going. What is the challenge the traveler faces when no one will help him? C, he has to walk to another town where people might be kinder to him. Doesn't say anything about him walking to another town. Okay, let's try D. He must find a new way to get people to share their food with him. Well, if we go back up to the text, he does find a pretty creative way to have people share their food with him. He says, I'm only going to ask for a pot and some water. Then he takes out 3 gray rocks and says he's going to make a delicious stone soup. And remember, some people started to get a little curious, like, stone soup. So they took their eyes on him and they wanted to see exactly what he was doing. So he begins to boil the soup, he adds the stones, and eventually he says, the soup would be just right if only we had some onions. Okay, so I would say out of all these options, what is the challenge that the traveler faces when no one will help him? Well, I would say he has to find a new way to help get some food. So he needs to find a new way to get people to share their food with him. And I would say he thinks of a pretty creative way in the end. Question 3. Why does the traveler keep putting his nose over the pot and breathing in? A, to make people think he is cooking something tasty, to make people want to make their own soup, to make people angry that they won't get any soup, to make people sad they didn't help him. Well, I always like to go up and look at the text and see what we've got here. After a while, he put his nose over the pot, he breathed in, he said with a twinkle in his eye, this is perfect. If only we had some onions. Then later, he puts his nose over the pot again and he breathes in and he says, this is almost perfect if only we had some potatoes. All of these things, I think, are pointing or hinting at the fact that he wants people to think that he's cooking something tasty. He says, this smells delicious. If only we had. So he wants people to think that his soup that he's cooking is nice and tasty. Question 4. What do you learn about the traveler from the way he faces his challenge? So what does this tell us? Okay, so his challenge or his problem was that he was hungry. Then his solution, the way he solved his problem, was to trick the villagers into thinking that he was creating a delicious stew so that they would help him with the ingredients. What does that tell us Okay, the way he solved his problem. What does that tell us about him? Does it tell us that he's clever or smart because he gets people to choose to help him? Does it tell us that he's lazy because he has other people do the work for him? No, he's the one that's making the soup, so I would say B is out. Let's try C. C, he is unhappy because he is too poor to buy his own food. Doesn't say anything about him being unhappy. D, he is proud because he knows more about cooking than others. Out of all of these choices, I think the fact that he was able to trick the villagers into helping him with the ingredients for the soup means that he's clever or smart, okay? Because he ends up tricking them because he's so smart and clever to give him the ingredients, so they end up choosing to help him because they're so curious about his soup. All right, number 5. The word village means small town. What do you think villager means? A, people who eat soup in a small town? Nope, that's not what a villager is, because there can be villagers that don't like soup. What is a villager? B, people who work in a small town. C, people who live in a small town. D, people who help others in a small town. Well, the word villagers actually mean people who live in a small town. If you live in a small town, you could call yourself a villager. Number 6. Underline the sentence in this paragraph that tells why the people bring the traveler a pot filled with water. Why do the people in the village bring the traveler a pot filled with water? Let's read the paragraph to figure out where it tells us the answer. Who has ever heard of stone soup? The villagers laughed. But some people were curious. They brought the traveler a pot filled with water. We know that they brought him a pot filled with water, but we want to know, why did they bring him a pot filled with water? Who has ever heard of stone soup? The villagers laughed. But some of the people were curious. The reason why they brought him a pot filled with water was because they were curious. When you're curious about something, you want to learn more about it. So make sure you underline, but some of the people were curious. That's why they brought him the water. Number 7, you're going to use your words and sentences to answer on the lines below. Write 3 things that the traveler says in the story that help him get what he wants. Let me tell you the first thing. First thing he says that helps him get what he wants is he says, this is almost perfect. If only we had some onions. So by saying that, it helped him get a bag of onions from the other villagers. So, for question 7, we could write, maybe. All right, my computer's going a little slow, but we could write, if only I had a bag of onions. So you need to think of 2 more things that he says in the story that helps him get what he wants, which is the soup. Remember, that's what he wants. Number 8, how does the traveler respond to the challenge of getting food? So how does he respond to the challenge? That means, how does he fix the problem? What does he do when he has this problem? We said his problem was he was hungry. He needed food. They weren't giving him food. Remember, they shut their doors and said, I only have enough for my family. So how does he respond to the challenge of getting food? What does he do to fix that problem?